It was a decade of so-called decadence. The 1980s offered many things to its generation of youth, from the birth of Pac-Man and the Rubik's Cube to a channel that defined a nation. MTV played a major role in exposing bands to millions of people for the very first time. Around the country, teenagers were picking up guitars and banging on the drums, starting bands in basements and garages in the hopes of one day making the big time. Back in the early to mid-1980s, while the hard rock and heavy metal explosion of Hollywood and the new wave of British heavy metal were making their impacts around the world, a hard rock music scene of its own started to develop in the Lehigh Valley and surrounding areas. One area of the country was virtually becoming the premier spot for a particular kind of hard rock that would change the face of music. Bands from the Hollywood area would be making names for themselves, playing and hanging out at all the hot Sunset Strip nightclubs. The Rainbow, the Whiskey, the Cat House, Gazzari's, and the Roxy were all second homes to many of the hot young bands. Bands such as Motley Crue, Quiet Riot, and Rat all paved the way for a floodgate of heavy metal that would soon take over America. All across the states, the LA music scene influenced kids playing in their basements and garages and introducing them to a dream that could possibly come true. In one particular area of the country, nestled between the Big Apple and the city of brotherly love, you could find the Lehigh Valley. Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton are the principal cities. Throughout the countryside as well as in the streets, underground music was everywhere. Music in the 1980s played a big part in the lives of many people around the Lehigh Valley. Rock and roll clubs such as Chubby's, Bill Daniels Music Factory, Castle Gardens, Mickey Kelly's, and Club Pascal started featuring hard rock bands such as the Dead End Kids, Tease, Vicious Bereka, and White Hot. There are some music scenes that have been well documented. The late 1960s scene of Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, the 1970s new wave and punk scene in New York City, the 80s hard rock and glam scene of LA and the Sunset Strip, and even the 90s grunge scene of Seattle. And while all these scenes made historical impacts on the music world, a lesser-known scene made an impact in many people's lives in the Lehigh Valley and will live on forever in their hearts and souls. For it is from this scene that not only produced some great talent and music, but created memories that should never die and be remembered for many years to come. It was a decade that gave birth to a way of life that many residing in the Lehigh Valley called their own. It was a time of big dreams, bigger hair, and wild times. And through it all, a scene emerged on the area that to this day will not be forgotten. This is the story of some of the bands that ruled the stages of the Lehigh Valley in the 1980s. From its humble beginnings to its sudden demise, the people that were involved in any way with that music scene will always agree: the Lehigh Valley rocks.